All good? Okay, so again, welcome everybody. And we're welcoming David McGuire as our guest speaker and Thador Tekhli. He is a student, and I'll explain a little bit more about Thador shortly here. So we're going to start off our meeting with the sad side of things. And I want to start off with stories about Rick Bodnaruk. So as everyone knows, we lost Rick about almost 2 weeks ago now. And his health had been declining, but his battle was courageous. And he was always trying to work on Rotary things right up to the end. So I wanted to open with Andy Watson first. Andy was Rick's sponsor. And Andy, you've got a story for us, and then I'm going to jump over to Barry, and then we'll open it up.
Yes, thanks, Brett. And I guess I was the first one that had any connection with Brett and with Rick and Rotary back, whatever it was, 10, 15 years ago. I did some public relations work for the Better Business Bureau, and as such, I attended business after hours. And I was at a business after hours meeting, and I met this chap who had just moved to Chatham and was opening up a bed and breakfast on Wellington. And of course, that was interesting. And I can well remember that chatting with Rick, my comments were that you're opening up a bed and breakfast. You'd make a wonderful member for a noon Rotary Club. Because you like to want to do community work. Morning meetings wouldn't be too suitable, and evening meetings you'd be expecting people. But if you're going to run a bed and breakfast, a noon Rotary Club would be the ideal one, and the Chatham Rotary Club is that. That's where it went from. I can remember I had I'm terrible with names to begin with, but Eric really threw me in trying to remember Rick's name to bring him to Rotary. But we chatted at the business after hours, and he agreed, and we came to a couple of Rotary meetings as my guest, and the rest is history. So I'll leave it with the other people to tell them. But that's how I think Rick got connected with Rotary in Chatham.
Thank you, Andy. And Barry Fraser, you've got
Yes,
some...
I've lost the screen here, so you're not able to hear me, eh?
Oh, we can hear you, yes.
Oh, can you? Okay, so I am on, okay.
Problem is we can see you too.
Well, I can't see myself. So Andy wound the clock back on Rick Bodnaruk to day one, and I want to wind it back about 8 years. So it was about that time that I, up in northwestern Ontario, spending some time with our son Kent and his family. We went out and we played the Dryden Rotary Club Rotary Bingo in Red Lake. And it was only a game in town every Thursday evening down at the Legion. And the Legion was always filled up with bingo players for the Dryden Rotary Club Radio Bingo. Well, I can well recall speaking with Rick Bodnaruk back in, I believe it was roughly 2015, about that bingo, and he took it from there, doing the legwork to set up the coordination of working with our local TV station to start our club's TV bingo every week. And it continued on, and he wound up being the coordinator for the card distribution and filing of the necessary records every week. And he did that. It was only until very recently that he was definitely the backbone of our bingo, and only recently, before his health became in a declining state. So just as the Dryden Rotary Club Bingo has topped its records during the pandemic, so has our TV bingo broken records through that period of time. So I really do believe that Rick has left a very strong living legacy for our club as our major fundraising project.
Thank you, Barry. So I'm going to jump in just now. Barry had said something to me earlier about the archives and things. Rick was kind of a regular coming into the Rotary office, and I showed him where we had tucked away a lot of our Rotary files. He went through those with a very fine-tooth comb. He found minutes from the first meeting, and as you all know, this is our centennial. So from 1921, he found records and things for the Rotary Club that reached back that far. So I really enjoyed, I asked him if he would bring it to the club and give us a little bit of information as we went along, sort of a Rotary minute on our history. And it was maybe 3 weeks ago, about a week and a half before he passed, that he and Ange came back in with a few of the boxes that he had brought home. And, you know, we always had time for a little bit of a chat, but exactly as Barry was saying, you know, I put on my note that went out, I kind of thank Rick every day for what the Chatham Rotary Club can do with our funds from the TV bingo. And I would say if I had to put a number together, because the TV bingo count, we have not spent a lot of money recently. I would say we've raised darn close to $100,000 through that that effort. So I thank Rick every day, and I probably say a few other things about Rick when I've got the license to deal with, the it's OLG, as well as the forms I've got to do to send in to the municipality to say, yes, here we're doing this. But when I do that, I also have to put down what we started spending money on. And that's the part I like, spend the money and put it to worthwhile causes. So I'm going to ask if there's anybody else with a Rick story, if you've got something to share. I'm going to start with Tom, and then I'll go to Jennifer, then Barry again. Oh, got to unmute, Tom. I muted you.
Well, there are two Toms on board, so I assume I'm the one.
Oh, Tom's story.
Yep. Okay. I've been thinking quite a bit about this particular assignment that you gave to the club members, and the unique characteristics of Rick that relate to me are not specific projects. They are style and manner. And what I'm talking about is that in my work with the Mustang Committee, in my work with the bingo projects at the many sites across Chatham, Kent, what I found with Rick was an amazing detail, recollection, and study, and putting things together, and then quietly, but very strongly, bringing forward to you recommendations and summaries. His ability to gather bits and pieces of history, which you've alluded to, Mr. Chairman, with respect to the history that is supportive of our centennial celebrations, but they were focused with a kind of intensity and a variety of detailed views that I have never witnessed among any other Rotarian that I've known. So while I couldn't say that Rick and I were really close personal friends, I think that I had given him the kind of response that I had a deep respect for him and trust with his reliability. And I find that unique and something that I certainly will miss.
For sure. Tom, story.
Well, I'm just going to give an example. I think I agree totally with what Tom McCarthy just said. Some of you who were in the club back when Rick was president, we had our annual banquet out at the Kinsman Auditorium, I believe. And our guest speaker that year was Tim McCormick. Tim McCormick was a professional basketball player who did promotional type speaking. And he was 6'11", and I was tasked with meeting Tim and showing him around a bit, and then introducing him at the banquet, which I did. And following me, Rick spoke next, and he rhymed off all of the people who were picked ahead of Tim McCormick in the NBA draft that year, which struck me. And he just sort of rhymed it off like he always knew it. Didn't have to look it up or anything. You know, like everyone memorizes the NBA draft from 15 years ago. So that's my story, but it was typical. Tim was a font of little known but interesting information. All you had to do was ask him and give him a platform, and he'd be glad to expound. So he will be missed for sure. He's leaving a void that I don't know how we're going to fill, frankly.
Absolutely. Jennifer?
Yeah, well, I do not have a story of his stories because I could never follow his stories. He had a very, very quirky and quick sense of humor. And I think that he had a master's degree in trivia. He always had a story. I often realized what he'd said the day after, but I did get it then. And I will miss him greatly.
Absolutely. Back to Barry.
Yeah, President Rick. Well, further on the trivia and detail, he wound up being, he took on the task really of being the club archivist, and especially so in reviewing the back records of the club back to 1925, getting ready for the centennial. And I just knew that he was always poking around in the Rotary office. He was doing some purging, but he was also sorting and gathering together and putting it somewhere in the office. And I wanted to know where it all was. And I think it was the last time I saw Rick in the Rotary office. And I suppose that was no later than the first part of August. I said, Rick, where are you putting all your goodies when it comes to the club records? And he said, come around here to the back of the desk. And there was the bottom. He went around to the bottom drawer of that desk in the Rotary office and showed me exactly where it all was. I think maybe there's 2 drawers back there now. And that was the last conversation I had with Rick. Perfect person to be the club archivist.
Well, and so great on the details, you're right. And I don't know how he did it, but I know a lot of the bingo boxes, he would count out the bingo tickets and bundle them in the 25s that we needed. And a lot of that was done either during a football game or a baseball game. And then he could tell you exactly what happened on that game too. So yes, he covered a lot of detail. Other stories of Rick, anybody?
I'm going to say one more thing, Brett. There's no doubt his body was failing, but right up to the end, his mind did not fail at all.
Very sharp. Very sharp. Okay, so with that, we'll just, Rick was so important to us, to bingo, to so many things, and I know he's going to be missed, especially by the Rotary Club of Chatham. So let's move on here. One of the other things I've got is our happy thoughts. One of our happy thoughts regards a young fellow that has joined us today. So I'm going to introduce Thador Tekhli. Thador is heading off tomorrow to the University of Windsor, and he will be entering third year in accounting. So he's completed his certificate at St. Clair College and now heading off for this next event. But it's his earlier story that was sort of caught my attention. Jennifer Rankin from the Satellite Club introduced me to Thador. And with that, I heard a little bit of a video about a 7-year-old dodging bullets and bombs. And I thought, oh my gosh. And then having met Thador and listening to a bit of his story and a bit of his, well, I mean, his language skills are amazing. He has pushed himself to be the best that he can be, and I'm sure there's going to be better yet to come. But Thador, would you oh, and so the other thing is, Jennifer had asked us if we had any scholarship funds available. And at that point, we had just completed our bursaries that we did with the high school. So that was, $250 times 25 people that we had done. On a yearly basis, we do now 4 scholarships at one at Windsor, 2 at Ridgetown campus, University of Guelph, and 1 at St. Clair College. And so I thought, geez, I'm not sure that we could come up with any, but having listened to the story and knowing the ambition that Thador has, I thought, here's a great investment on behalf of the club. I received the board approval and then got the opportunity to meet him last week and hear a little bit of his story. And I asked him if he had a few minutes before he heads off to school, could he share with us? And David, we'll run as long as we need to get all of our polio stuff in, but I want you to all to welcome Thador. And he's also already told me that if we've got an event coming up, let him know, and he'd be happy to try and attend, as I believe he's going to commute back and forth to school at this time. So welcome, Thador, and please give us a little bit of your story, if you don't mind.
Yes, thank you, Brett, and the Rotary Club for having me here today. But before I can go any further, I'd like to give my condolences to Rick's family. I'm so sorry to hear about the loss of Rick. From what I've heard about Rick, from talking to Brett and from just the discussion a minute ago, he seemed he was an asset to the club. It was very instrumental to the TV bingo, and what he did for the club itself was very phenomenal. So I wish the family peace and comfort as they're going through this difficult time. So I also want to thank the Rotary Club for awarding me the scholarship. This is tremendous. As I'm living in social housing, I tend to find it very difficult to climb up the ladder and finding opportunities. And so to be awarded the scholarship, it's tremendous, and it's going to help me with schooling. It's going to help cover my schooling when it comes to tuition. It will help me buy new textbooks. It will also help pay for my car insurance and gas, so that I'm able to take my mom to get her groceries and to take her to her appointments. This scholarship will also help me access mental health services for lower income youth, and it will also help me buy a new battery for my computer. So I'm very humbled by this generosity, and I want to thank the Rotary Club for awarding me the scholarship. It's tremendous, and it's going to help me a lot this year. So from what you guys have heard from Brett, I recently graduated from the Business Administration Accounting program from St. Clair College. And tomorrow I'll be starting school at the University of Windsor, where I'll be continuing my education in accounting. I'm hoping after I graduate from university to attend law school to become a civil lawyer, to deal with cases of negligence and wrongful acts that have led people to harm. And so this scholarship is definitely going to help me get closer to my goal. And again, I'm very fortunate for this opportunity. So I'll tell you a bit about myself. I came to Canada as a refugee from Sudan in the year of 2010 through the Anglican Church and the World Relief Fund that was set up by the Anglican Church of Canada back in 2010. And having come to Canada and trying to assimilate to the culture, it was very difficult. I didn't have much resources. I didn't speak the language very well. I was often bullied for being different. And so it took me a while to kind of adjust to that and navigate that imbalance of power. But fortunately, I was surrounded by good role models, and often they came from my church, St. Paul's and Holy Trinity Anglican Church here in Chatham. And they taught me a lot about being a nice person. They taught me a lot about ethics and to be an active member in the community and so forth. And ever since I've been part of the church, I've just learned a lot about how to be a citizen, a community citizen, but also a global citizen as well. And so throughout my 10 years of living in Canada, I accomplished a lot. I graduated from school. I got the Student Leadership Medal Award for which is the highest graduating award given to a graduating student for demonstrating excellence and leadership at Clair College. I also was one of the main organizers for the Black Lives Matter March movement to address anti-Black racism and police killing of brown and Black folks. And now 2 years ago, I was also a Junior Canadian ambassador, and I went on a trade mission to Southeast Asia, which I had the opportunity to work with the Canadian Embassy in Singapore and Malaysia, representing Chatham and working on to bring foreign investments back here. My time there was great. I learned a lot about diplomacy, ethics, international policy. I met folks from the private and public sectors, education, community, and government as well. And also throughout my college career, I had the opportunity to be a varsity athlete, in which I helped the college win 2 national medals, 1 silver and 1 gold. And that gold medal was the first national championship that the college has ever received. And so with that, I was very active. I was active in residence and also with programs at the college. And then this past year, I had the opportunity to be selected to be part of the 1834 Fellowship, in which they take high achieving Black youth and teaching them about policy writing and getting connected with policymakers. And so this year, me and my colleagues have focused on the issue of migrant workers, particularly the exploitation and how a lot of them are not equipped with the right resources to survive in the conditions that they're in at times. So me and my colleagues wrote 3 policy recommendations to protect migrant workers, and they were to open a pathway to citizenship or permanent residency, to increase external monitoring, and to also increase their benefits and pay as well. And so me and my colleagues took those 3 policy recommendations and we presented it to the Deputy Minister of Immigration and also to the Prime Minister within the same day. Along with that, I also got a policy certificate from Bodnaruk University for attending also their fellowship policy program that weekend of the presentation. And also back in February, I attended a pre-budget consultation with Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland, and she is also the current Minister of Finance, in which I talked to her about, I presented her a policy about increasing mental health resources to small communities. I know that in Chatham, Kent, a lot of the police officers don't have the necessary funding to be equipped to necessarily help those who are struggling with mental health, especially those who are displaced or homeless, or those youth who are in low social income housing who are struggling and trying to navigate to help their families and navigate the system that they're in. And so that was very cool. And she told me about some funding that exists under the federal government. And so having what led me to participate in all of these events is based on my story. I looked at some of the things that I was struggling with, and I said, yes, I'm struggling with them, but I can't complain. I need to take action and do something about it. And so that's what I did. I went out there. It was not easy. I was in a lot of uncomfortable places, but in those spaces that I was in, I met a lot of great like-minded people, especially youth that are doing bigger and greater things in Canada, and they're just amazing. You know, to just listen to them, to follow in their pathway, and so forth. They're just so committed to helping their community, but also helping Canadians across the country. So right now, I'm working on some affordable housing projects, social programs to hopefully I can bring into reality and help those in need. But again, I want to say thank you to the Rotary Club for this just generous scholarship. It's going to help me with my future. It's going to help me in my current moment. And I just look forward to helping out in any way that I can to Rotary, whether that's through volunteering or in any upcoming events. So again, Brett, and to the Rotary Club, thank you again for this scholarship. It means a lot.
Thank you very much, Thador. If we had the opportunity, we would jump into questions, but today's event is a little more polio minded, so we're going to head in that direction. We will extend an invitation to Thador to come out and give us a hand if we have an event that's taking place. And but again, thank you very much for coming out. You can pretty much see why I approached the board and said, I think we really should make something available. It's not a lot, but every little bit will help. And I'm pretty sure he's got a pretty good idea how to stretch it as far as he can. So thank you again for joining us, Thador. And your choice, if you got a lot of other things to get done today, feel free to depart. And if you want to hang on, our next speaker just tells us about Rotary and polio, and kind of one of the frequent things that we put our direction towards. So again, thank you very much for being with us today. At this time, so we'll just pop through. Last week we had the club, we got the okay to put $1,000 towards the Wheatley disaster relief. And that fund was a GoFundMe page that was set up to raise $20,000. It is currently over the $40,000 mark. So they're doing quite well with that. And I was so pleased that we sent in $1,000 to that particular event. So hopefully that will help some other people out. So we just want to say our happy birthdays are to Jane Fry, Monica Rambor, Carl Veroba, and Brett Smith for birthdays in September. And our club anniversary, the end of the month, will be Terry Smith, 5 years. So moving forward, I'm going to ask Barry Fraser if he would do the honor of introducing our guest speaker for the day.
Well, Brett, we just heard from Dork, who is obviously truly making a difference, both from his past and currently, and most certainly going into the future. Now it's my honor, distinct opportunity to introduce what I would call a Rotarian. David McGuire is a member of the Tilbury Rotary Club, has been its secretary. He's been its president twice. He's been a youth exchange counselor for many years, and the club has hosted several exchange students by the club as well as within the McGuire household. He served a 3-year term as an assistant governor in the district, 3 years on the finance committee of the district, and 2 as chair of the finance committee. Also, he was co-chair of the district $1 million dinner back in 2017. He is on the foundation committee currently of the district, and now is co-chair of the Polio Plus committee of the district. He's a Paul Harris Fellow +8, which means $9,000 to the foundation. He's a major donor, which is at least $10,000 and over in addition. He's a second level member of the Bequest Society, and he's a member of the Paul Harris Society. He's married to Mary Lynn, who is a retired customer service rep for Chatham Kent in the Tilbury office for 48 years, actually. They have 3 daughters and 6 grandchildren. He's got a farming background for 33 years and still owns the land and rents it out. He's got, I think it is 3 or more wind turbines on that land. He started a financial planning practice in 1995 and then sold it in 2012 when he retired from Dundee Wealth. So I'm pleased to welcome to our club David McGuire, and over to you, Dave.
Thank you, Barry. And I do want to express my condolences to both Rick's family and to the Chatham Rotary Club. Rick and I were presidents the same year. I believe it was 2004, 2005 in the centennial year. So I did cross paths with Rick, although it's been quite a while ago. When you come to talk about polio and come to the Chatham Club, there is about as well-informed club on polio as there is with all the years with our friend Pastor Governor Keith Koch heading up the polio campaign. But it is a pleasure to speak to a club that's in tune with giving and always coming up to the plate. As you know, Rotary's commitment is to ensure that no child will ever have to suffer the lingering and disastrous effects of polio. And polio's been around since 1894, the first recorded case of polio, but as many of you know, it was about 1955 before Dr. Sack came up with a vaccine. And it was very successful. And we know as late as 1988, we had as many as 350 cases of polio per year in 125 different countries. And it was actually as late as 1994 before the Americas had eliminated polio. I asked my mother many times if she was concerned about polio when I was born, but she doesn't seem to have any recollection of that. But I know a lot of people my age or a bit older remember not being able to swim in the local pool or something because they were afraid of contracting polio. The polio eradication really started in 1979 with the Rotary Club in the Philippines, and they were started out vaccinating children. And when the Rotary found out how successful it was in their endeavors in 1985, Rotary International took it on as one of their main projects to eradicate polio. And we do have many partners in that with the World Health Organization, the Center for Disease Control, UNICEF, of course, the Gates Foundation, which is currently matching our donations 2 to 1. And we can't forget the governments around the world. They've donated a lot of money to the Global Eradication Initiative also. So far, we've immunized over 2.5 million children. So we're actually down right now as of February 24th, our last case. We have 1 in Pakistan and 1 in Afghanistan. So that shows how far we've come. But Rotary and the Gates Foundation both have mandated that we will not leave this project until eradication is complete. And we just celebrated the 1-year anniversary of Africa being free of polio in August of this year, because they were August of the year before they were certified as out of eradicated of polio. Jennifer mentioned to me about talking about some of the fundraising we are doing. We've had several meetings with the district on this and with our Governor Brenda. One of my goals is when I look back last year, and I know last year was a different year for everybody, but it wasn't all that different as far as our polio donations went. We had 16 clubs in the district that gave nothing. So that's my project for this year, to make sure that every club gives at least something, and hopefully several Rotarians within the clubs will give a little donation of their own also. Ashish Shakar is the foundation chair this year, and he is kind of challenged us to raise our donations by 10%. So we're looking at raising $100,000 US in the district, and right now we're at 48 clubs. So I can let you do the math on what each club is expected to contribute. We know some clubs contribute more and some contribute less. As far as fundraising, you people have been kind of the leaders in that with our Pizza for Polio. I know our club copied it from you with encouragement from our friend Keith Koch. And again, I don't know for sure what's happened in your club, but I know in our own club, since we started that, we've created new partnerships. The first year we did it, not only with our donations from our pizza parlors, but it was announced we got this check for this amount from a lady in the community. So I said, well, don't send her a receipt for that. Give the receipt to me. I want to go visit her, because it was a pretty good donation. So I didn't want to scare a 95-year-old woman and calling up and saying I was coming to visit. So I called her son, and he said, oh yeah, I go visit her every morning. Meet me there at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. So she started to explain to me how her husband, who I knew of most of my life, and he always had a limp, I knew that. But she said that's why she sent that donation, because he had suffered from polio all his life. He contracted, like most people, at a young age. He was about 3 years old. And she went on to describe some of the things he had to put up with through his life. His one leg was very thin and skinny. He couldn't or wouldn't wear a pair of shorts because his leg and knee looked so funny. And he had to wear work boots, was the only boots that he would fit properly on his feet. So they didn't look too good with shorts either, I guess. But she said, not only that, he had to have a size 9 for his one foot and a size 7 for his other foot. And I said, don't tell me he had to buy 2 pairs of shoes all the time. She said, no, there was another guy in town. He was the opposite. And whenever one of them bought a pair of shoes, the store owner would call the other one and said, I got a deal for you. And I can see Les laughing. He knows it's Bruno Bedard. And and she'd say we'd go for a Sunday drive. but the way he had to sit in the vehicle was sit on the edge of the seat so he could reach the pedals all okay. So she said, even though we were going out for a Sunday afternoon drive with the family, it was still cumbersome for him. He wasn't able to enjoy it as much as the rest of them. And of course, trouble getting a job through the years because they didn't know whether he would be able to do the work. And it's comforting to know that all the kids being born in this part of the world do not have to suffer through that again. And we're hoping that we can say shortly that that will be the case in the whole world. And even since then, she has continued to donate, and her family donates quite well too. They all get together for our Pizza for Polio and have a, now they couldn't do it last year with all the family members, but each family on her chain did it separately. They not only buy pizza that helps out our Pizza for Polio campaign, but they all kick in a few bucks and deliver me a nice envelope of cash towards our club's polio campaign. So when you get that money and then you look at it, and the Gates Foundation will match it again 2-1, it's been another great partnership in the polio campaign. So, and I'm sure you have stories like that with your Pizza for Polio. This year, we've always had ours on the World Polio Day, but I talked to Brett, and we had a little confusion last year because your club does some advertising and it was on a different date. So we had some people in Tilbury saying, what date is it? I heard it on the radio this date and that date. So I've been talking to Allison, and you guys are having yours on the 20th. So we've launched ours for the 20th of October too. So we can, I guess, be on your coattails and be the beneficiary of some of your advertising. So we thank you for that. And the district had kind of thought maybe we should have something that we could, all the clubs could do. I was kind of hesitant to go to a club and say, this is what you're doing for polio eradication this year. As we know, Rotary starts at the club level and works from there, that all the good ideas come from the clubs. And that's why I wanted all the clubs to make their own choice of what they wanted to do for a polio campaign. But decided with the sectors 1 and 2 in Chatham, Kent have always got together and had meetings together with their presidents, and so that we know what's going on with each club, so we're not overlapping. I went to Sons of Kent this year and said I'd like to do something for our sector to raise money for polio. I said, we don't have any money to spend to start a campaign, to put any money up front. Is there anything we can do? I said, sure. They usually have a charity of the month each year. So he said, if October's your month, you can have October and you'll be our charity of choice. So we actually made our own beer label. If you can see it, I don't know whether you can see it there. The End Polio Now beer. It is Flywheel beer from Sons of Kent. It will be available the month of October at the brewery right in Chatham, or at any of their agency stores. So we will get a portion of the sales from each can of beer or draft beer at the brewery for the Flywheel for the month of October. Also, the second Friday, which happens to be October 8th, in this year is of each month they have a farmer's market. So we will have a handful of people walking around promoting the beer as people go around the tables. And we will also get the rental fee from the tables that night, plus any beer that is sold. Then the next week on October 13th is going to be Rotary Night at the brewery. So it'll be draft beer, of course, that night, and we will get a portion of any of the flywheel beer they sell that night. We're also have been talking with Allison about this, and some of the musicians that have interested instruments may come and play a few tunes for us based on what COVID protocol is that day. It keeps changing every day, but we're hoping for things to continue to improve, and hopefully everything can happen as scheduled. So I will be, we want to give Sons of Kent a little heads up of what attendance will be on that evening, because they want to have everything properly staffed. And if you're wanting to have your supper there, we will be meeting between 5 and 8 on the October 13th. So you can stop in for a drink or say hi to everybody and leave, or you can stay the whole 4 hours and visit and with all the Rotarians in the sector. But anybody that is wanting to eat their meal there, it is they've asked me if you would call ahead and order before. So I'm going to be contacting the presidents about wanting the numbers from them about 10 days before, so I can give Sons of Kent a week's heads up of how many people will be coming that night. So hopefully there'll be many of you attend. And we certainly thank Sons of Kent for that. They are very good corporate citizens doing a lot of things in the community, but they didn't have to do that, but they were no hesitation. They were right on board. And I have to give a little credit to Paul Brown from the Ridgetown Club, because he set me up with a girl from Dresden, a Pamela Smith, and she was very instrumental in making this. I told her what I would like on it, and she set up the Sons of Kent label for End Polio Now, and they were quite impressed, because they said they end up having to do a lot of the work themselves most times. So we're hoping for great things. I don't know how much money we will raise from that. Most of it is for awareness and promotion, that hopefully many will go to the brewery and buy some beer, and when you're at home treating one of your friends to one of your End Polio Now flywheel beers, that there is a little spot on there says to donate at endpolio.org/donate, that maybe you will create another partner in our effort to end polio. So I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today, and if there's any questions, I try to answer them if I can.
Great. So we're going to open it up. I'm going to start off with Tom's story first, and then I'll be moving to Barry.
You're muted, Tom.
Take you off mute, Tom.
It's great to be at a Barry for a change. It'll be a terrific sacrifice on my part, but I pledge to have 1 can of beer during the month of October every day.
Oh.
So, okay. I know, don't thank me. I will try my best, and maybe even have 2 a couple times in case I miss one for some reason. But that's my pledge for ending polio now.
We thank you for that.
Barry.
Well, I just love coming after Tom.
Yeah, so do I.
So, David, you made mention of our good friend in memory, Keith Koch. Well, I'm just pleased that David has taken on the legacy of Keith to being the district co-chair of the polio campaign, ambition and campaign. As far as donations are concerned, and in your introduction, it was noted several times how you have contributed to the Rotary Foundation, including to the polio campaign. Can you just share with us how easy it is to make a donation to the Rotary Foundation, please?
Well, anybody that's on my Rotary, as soon as you go on there, there is a place to donate now. You click on that, all your information populates. You click on where you want to donate, whether it is to the foundation, the annual fund, any of the other global grants or any of those things, or polio. You just click on how much. Now, normally we get our receipt within a couple days. Now, I've been talking with the Rotary head office. I guess they're redoing our Canada receipts because I haven't received one since the 1st of July. And so I usually do a monthly thing, and I just got my first receipt for the 1st of September, but nothing for July and August, so they will be coming behind. But the normal transaction, within a couple of days, your receipt is emailed to you. And as I mentioned before, if any of your friends or anybody wants to donate as a one-time thing, just endpolio.org/donate, and you can put in your club name or anything so that the club gets credit for it too.
So you would say, David, it's easy peasy.
Yeah, it take your money as easy as anybody.
Any other questions here? And we still have Thador with us, so any other questions want to fire towards Thador? I'm sure he would be happy to fill us in. Okay, so no other questions. Definitely, we're looking forward to October. Not being a beer drinker of any kind, I'm actually lining up the number of people that I'm going to have to buy 6-packs for. So, and it's getting a little bit long. So I'll be supporting it that way.
I hope I'm on that list.
Well, and you remind me though, I've got that same T-shirt. I got to pull that out, so I'm ready. So last week we had mentioned with regard to Shelter Box, with the campaign that we were running there, we're a little over the $3,500 mark so far that we're putting in place for Shelter Box, and most of that is going in the direction of Haiti. It's sort of wherever Shelter Box Canada puts it towards, but it was Haiti is what they had sent out their indication that they were collecting with regard to that. So as Dave had mentioned, our upcoming Pizza for Polio, we'll be working that towards October 20th. I know Allison and Tony are working towards going back to the same vendors, and we'll make sure that we get them announced on our TV bingo. And Dave, if you've got some vendors out of Tilbury and want to send us any, we'll make sure that gets on there as well. Did you have something you wanted to add there, Dave?
Yeah, I will do. I just a piece of trivia. Does anybody know of the song that became from getting the polio vaccination? It was a song that was derived from that back years ago. Two brothers, Richard and Robert Sherman, were singer-songwriters, And they had been commissioned to write some songs for Walt Disney for Mary Poppins. And they were kind of getting pushed back on everything they did do, and they were kind of running out of ideas. And so one afternoon, Robert's son came home from school and he said, well, what'd you do today? He said, well, I got the polio. He said, what do you mean got the polio? Yeah, we got the vaccination. They said they couldn't have given it to you because you would never take a shot. You just run around every time, avoid the doctors and nurses. We couldn't ever give you a shot. He said, no, they put the drops on a sugar cube and we ate that. And that motivated them to a spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down. So we've all heard that in Mary Poppins. That's supposedly where the song came from.
Uh-huh. See what you can learn coming to Rotary.
Hey, we learned it first here.
Now, the other thing that's coming up the end of this month, so September 25, the district was promoting a watershed cleanup, and Sunrise as well as the Lower Thames are working on a paddle cleanup arrangement. I'm not too sure many of us would fit very well in a canoe or in a kayak. Canoes do seem to tip. So we're going to go ahead with a cleanup along the banks of the McGregor Creek as it flows through Maple Leaf Cemetery. So a good chance we'll have a kayak or two in the water. I know our friend Tony Hill has already signed up for the big event, but he's going to actually do a little more tripping. He's going to put in early and then come down through and collect things as you go along the river that should not be in the river or the creek. So that will be September 25, and I'll add more detail there. We'll meet together about 9 o'clock in the morning and have a couple of hours cleaning in the Maple Leaf Cemetery. And then, as we learned earlier, Pints for Polio. Dave, do you know the time of the farmer's market?
It's 4 till 8.
4 p.m. to 8 p.m. on the farmer's market. Okay. And then our Rotary night will be 5 to 8.
5 to 8.
And we'll set something up so that I can get a sheet going as to how many may be attending, whether they're stopping in for a meal, that kind of thing. The other thing I'd sent out, our battle with CRA is over, and we have the authorization for issuing our tax receipts. And so that was a lot of work, thanks to primarily Bruce Ross. We also had to get a little law help. So Paul Watson kicked in and did who knew what a letters patent was? Because I never knew. But Doug Solman came up with our letters patent from 1956. And that had to be amended, which Paul's law firm took care of amending. It was all sent in very well. That took some bit of time. As soon as CRA got it, because of all of the work that Bruce had done, we got our authorization and reinstated back to whatever point that they had said, we had to hold on things. So now the job comes of we need to start issuing some receipts. So if anybody's got a bit of time, send me a message and let me know when you might be available. And we've got some receipts to issue from the Russell Templeton donations that came in with his passing. We've got some in the neighborhood about $500, and receipts of this kind all go into the service fund, and then funds will be spent out from there. So that pretty much concludes everything. I've got a couple of questions for Barry and Andy, if you can hang on. And Ashley, I was going to talk to you after the meeting. So anything else for the good of Rotary from anybody? If not, I'll ask Julia if, yes, one other thing. Just a show of hands, those that are interested in heading back to Links of Kent or in-person meetings. Just trying to get an idea. Okay, so I'm talking to them a little bit tomorrow and just see how that's going to go. And we'll keep you posted on that. We were hoping to get it in for next week, but our timing wasn't meeting up with Links of Kent to have a little sit down. So we'll keep you posted and move forward from there. Julia, if you would play us out, please. Great, thank you all. And Dave, good luck with this year's campaign. Thador, good luck with first day of university tomorrow.
All the best, Thador.
Have a great week,
everyone.
everybody.